Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for another episode here on the NC Barndo build. We are just finishing up our final day of framing here in preparation for our trusses. It was a little bit windy, so I had a lot of background noise on the microphone, unfortunately. So I thought I would just do a little voiceover here on the first part and explain a little bit about our building and why ours may be different than maybe something you have seen on another channel on YouTube or somewhere else on the internet. Our building was designed by a structural engineer, and we decided along with him to do post spacing of 8 foot on center with a truss spacing of 4 foot on center. We figured this was the most bang for your buck as far as strength on the building goes and strength on the roof load, and not overbuilding too much. So that requires, because we have a truss that lands in between each post, that requires us to run carrier beams or girders around the top. In some other builds that maybe you watch online or some other buildings that you've been in, maybe you don't see this. Maybe you see trusses on each post on 8 foot on center, and that would probably dictate constructing this portion of the build with some smaller dimensional lumber, since you're not carrying the roof load in between the posts. But I like this design a little better just because these 2x10s and 2x12s that we're using really ties the top of the post together and adds a lot of rigidity to the wall. I'm telling you, without the trusses on these walls, you can climb to the top and they don't move a whole lot, which is pretty amazing. So it gives me a lot of confidence as we continue this build that we're going in the right direction, along with following our blueprints that were designed specifically for this build. But we're running 2x10s and 2x12s all the way around, both on the inside and outside of the post. And what I like to do is run 16-foot board lengths along with 8-foot board lengths and stagger our seams. So for an example, the post behind the scaffolding wagon there that has the splice, on the outside of that post, that's going to be a 16-foot board on the outside, 2x12. So we never have a splice on both sides of the post, which in my mind just adds a little more structural integrity to the building and makes it a stronger connection, obviously, if you don't have a splice. So that's how we've designed this and how we're doing things. We also will be putting bearing blocks underneath the girders, again, just to help support the weight, so not everything is relying on those nails. It'll have a little bit of a shelf, so to speak, for that girder to sit on. So again, just follow. If you're going to try a build on your own, I highly recommend having a structural engineer help you design the building with blueprints that you can follow. It just gives you, at least for me, gives me a lot of peace of mind, and I'm glad we did that extra step. It's a little extra money, but in my mind, it's really, really worth it. I don't have to wonder if it's structurally sound. Just hook it on the outside of that post. $191, right on the money. Well, I need to look to see. I don't remember which side the crown was on. This top side. You got to get down. I'll push it down towards the thing to you. You got to get down on the end post. Huh? I don't know. But I'll push it down to you so you don't have to.
My arms don't go up.
I would go up one more board. I got this one. You don't have to worry about this. Can you go up one more?
It'll be above it.
Huh?
It'll be above it.
You got to set the bottom on that piece of wood.
I know, but my arms aren't that long.
Okay.
I don't know. We might have to just practice with this one a little bit because I don't know. Let me put mine up first, maybe. If that's okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
Is that okay?
If you are, just don't let it fall off.
I won't.
Okay. It's got to come back towards me quite a bit. There you go.
We're not sitting on that middle board yet.
I know. I figured I'm gonna have to pry it because it's got a crown in it. Yeah. How are we on the end of the post though? Are we flush with the end of the post? Okay. Okay, do you got it?
Why don't you just move it down?
I'm going to. Can you imagine not having this wagon and having to move the scaffolding like we did for the garage? It was so bad. Your dad and I were wore out just moving the scaffolding. Okay. I guess that's as far as it wants to go. Well, yeah. See if I can push it.
Oh, you're way closer on that side.
That's okay. Try not to. I'm going to nail this, and then once I get this nailed, you can get down. Okay, you're good if you want to get down. Be all right. I want to show you guys this little detail here on my girders. The way my post frame is designed is we have post 8 foot on center with trusses 4 foot on center. So I'm going to have a truss that lands here. So these girders will be carrying the roof truss. We'll have a truss on the post, truss in the middle, and that's how this eve end is going to work. The gabled ends are a little different in that the truss sits on top of this 2x10 and then it gets nailed to the posts, which really, I guess, in theory means that this 2x10 on the outside really isn't carrying anything once we get the truss nailed to the post. And then this 2x10 on the inside will be carrying the ceiling load. So it's not super structural. You could probably get away with something smaller, but my prints called for a 2x10, so that's what we used. But I wanted to show you this detail in the corner because you need to think about it when you do your framing. Your posts on the eve ends are all going to run the same direction, including your corner. So the plies are running this way. When you get to your gabled ends, the plies are going to run this way. So I'm 5.5 inches wide, 4.5 inches wide. So you need to make that up somehow
if you run a board like I did across. And when you run your girders around on the inside, you'll have to think about it as well. All I did was put a 2x6 piece in here, sistered it up against this girder board, and then toe nailed this board into that, and then I drove some nails in from the backside into this block to help hold things. I figured since this is carrying more weight on the eve end, it would be more appropriate to fasten it directly to the post. Since this is not carrying as much weight, I'm okay with it being tacked onto this sistered board. That's how I'm doing my corner posts. We've done it there, and we've done it down there. And once we get all the trusses set and we're up to the last one, we'll detail that as well, because we'll build this wall. The trusses will come in around in, and then we'll build the wall and enclose it in. That wraps up the framing for us. I think this is day 4 for framing. So 2 people. Did it by myself for a couple of days. My wife helped me out on the last 2 days of framing. So in 4 days, we have a 40 by 56 with 10-foot high walls, all framed up. Not too shabby. Trusses should be here in about 3 days, and we're ready for them. And that'll be the next video. That's all I have for you guys on the framing for now. We'll come back and detail this other gabled end, and I'll show you how we're setting the post on those, since I didn't get this first gabled end detailed. And we'll be all set. We're well on our way. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys on the next video.